Issue 123. We start out seeing Sonic and Tails flying the tornado over to an invasion force of aircraft heading towards Angel Island. Tails asks what the Dracon Empire would want with it for some reason, causing Sonic to call him Pixel Brain and tell him to think. He snarks, "No, I mean they want to get their hands on Knuckles' stamp collection." Sheesh, of course I mean the Chaos Emeralds. That was pretty amusing. Some lasers get fired at the tornado as Sonic jumps off it without a plan, and he jumps towards the troopers saying epically, "I have a plan! I plan to win!" That was the most epic line Sonic's ever had. And I believe it too, because come on, he's got super speed. He can just create a tornado around all the soldiers to throw them up in the air. Not to mention blast straight through them. And we already see the blue soldier panicking, saying to look out just at seeing him. For some reason, he just stands there and admits that he would have been worried taking them all on by himself if he didn't know Knuckles was going to back him up later. Why was he just standing there instead of immediately running around them all and homing attacking them all? He almost got shot by lasers because of that. Then Sonic simply hits one of the soldiers, as I again wonder why he isn't taking advantage of his super speed to create a tornado or anything. It's like they're artificially trying to make him look like a total idiot for not coming up with a plan when he didn't need a plan. A green soldier says to the prosecutors that half their sentinels will remain here to contain Sonic, and the other half will come with him. As Sonic wonders where Knuckles is, he's in the special zone right now, a green soldier says the plans show that there should be an opening here somewhere, and the pink soldier tells the sentinel to search the ground. The green soldier says that a metal ring must be it, and is asked where he got that information on the Ancient Island tunnels. And where did Grimer learn about that? After the red soldier is said to have disabled the island's force field from the outside somehow, and is told that the Emperor was right to trust him, he gets blasted up in the air because of one of Knuckles' defensive robots, who gets sentinels sent after it. As Sonic is still just standing there and punching, instead of using his super speed to make a tornado and win. The green guy goes into the tunnel to try to get to the main passageway and blasts through a wall to the Chaos Chamber, as I wonder why Tails isn't flying the tornado around and shooting at the sentinels with its weapon gunfire to be useful. The pink soldier reveals that the Chaos Emeralds were stolen from the Dracon homeworld thousands of years ago. That still doesn't explain how they came to being. I don't like this. Maybe he just thinks they were stolen because every world has their own Chaos Emeralds, and maybe the Chaos Emeralds of Mobius disappeared, were stolen by Zone Hopper. The green soldier says that's ancient history that has nothing to do with him, and he just wants the Emperor to pay him what he was promised. As Sonic is brought to the place with his wrist tied by rope as a captive, because go figure he was fighting like a complete moron, he reveals that he let them do this because this was the easiest way to find out what he was up to. Of course, the green soldier reveals himself to be Grimer. I say of course because he was green. In the next story, the Chaotix are warned about the Hammerhead getting an Oscar, and we cut back to Porker explaining who he really is, the Hammerhead, after Knuckles wakes up, still reeling from the hit given him. Hammerhead threatens him, saying they have unfinished business, and when Espio talks to him invisible, he's immediately attacked, with Hammerhead lampshading how idiotic he was to not stay invisible like a normal person would have. Mighty then hits Hammerhead on the back of the head while snarking, "Lucky for you, I was here to save you again, Espio." Espio calls Mighty a knucklehead and denies needing his help, just like Fleetway Sonic would. And since the two are wasting time talking while ignoring the villain, Hammerhead just hits them both, and says that there's no one here to save him. Predictably, this is Knuckles' cue to come in and grab his staff, smartly snapping it in two, and punches him. Then some cops threaten them of all people, and the story ends with a predictable twist being revealed that Porker is Oscar, which is unusual since he's been established as a softy, nice guy team coward of the Freedom Fighters. So for him to go from an evil criminal to that is quite a change, like character development. I love this idea, but I guarantee you they didn't create the character with this backstory in mind. Better than Jeffrey's retcon though. In the next story, Sonic saves a civilian from falling as weeds are taking over Metropolis and making the comic consist of just thin, vertical panels with really tiny text in them, which I always hated. While Fabian is badly singing for a couple on a date, Amy uses a ray gun to save him from a weed. And when Techno says the weeds must originate from one seed, Sonic snarks, "Save us a biology lesson, Techno," which amused me since he obviously missed her point. she has the common sense to finally figure out that the only way to destroy the weed growth is by destroying the main root. And Sonic is even smarter by figuring that it would be where the first weeds appeared, since that's where they started spreading. He runs over to Gilbert's garden without dragging the girls behind him, and they're just running after him normally, meaning that he could have gotten here a lot faster if he wasn't slowing himself down to let them run after him and do nothing. And Gilbert, who's holed up in his shed, tells Sonic of all people to get out of his garden. Sonic smirks relatably, "I'm tempted to leave the old moaner trapped in his shed," as he's destroying the weeds, and then he points out while Techno's using a drilling machine she apparently has time to go get. I could have tunneled us through faster than a drilling machine. And you could have gotten here alone faster too. Amy tells them to chill out, saying they're doing fine, and Agent X, who has a green cloak, warns Eggman about them discovering the seed and follows his order to teleport away. The Doom Seed grabs Techno with a vine from sensing them, and Sonic gets hit by a vine before it can go into a spin attack. Amy shoots something round from her crossbow and weakens it, explaining that she brought along a bag of weed killer from Grumpy's shed, which makes sense. Then Grumpy's finally happy because he can use the dead weeds in his garden as compost to help fertilize his rose bushes. The writer thought this through to have him say that. The first two stories are by Nigel Kitching, and the first one involves Sonic fighting the Dracon soldiers in the most worthless possible way instead of using common sense, and immediately creating a speed tornado to defeat them all. Not to mention he's shown he can punch a whole bunch of times while running. Instead, he fights piss poorly to force tension and lets himself get captured so we can see how Grimer's doing, when he could have just left and gone through the tunnel without doing that fighting. So I guess he was just making an excuse to let Grimer get to where he wanted to, but couldn't he just beat them all up? So he was an idiot, this story. In the next story, Porker reveals that he really is Oscar. What a surprise! His story arc was begging for a twist, and he looks just like him. I mean, I guess he could have had an identical twin that was called Oscar. And the last story is by Lou Stringer, and is about the Doom Seed being destroyed by Amy shooting Weed Killer at it with a crossbow. We should have seen the Weed Killer before she introduced it, but whatever. It makes sense